free motion quilting beginner tutorial for you to learn how to attach the best tips, the best methods, and how to avoid puckers on your quilt sandwich for free motion quilting on a sewing domestic machine. Hi, Quilter! It's so nice to have you here. I'm Aline.
And I'm Natasha, and welcome to the Free Motion Quilting Crash Course. So this is a series of videos for you to start free motion quilting ready for success and happiness. So one of the things that beginners have the most afraid of is to ruin their quilt, and that can happen in so many ways, right? The stitches are ugly, the quilting is unpurposely wonky, and there is one that is so common, that is you have all the work to do your free motion quilting, and then when you finish or as you're doing it, you already start to see some creases and pleats and puckers, and that is very undesirable, right?
And that can be very frustrating because as a beginner, you don't know what you're doing wrong to have those results. So you automatically assume that you are the problem, that you are doing things wrong. But today, we are gonna tackle the perfect sandwich for beginners to start learning free motion quilting, and in the course of this complete series of classes, you will be able to address and solve all the beginner problems so you can actually have fun with free motion quilting.
Great, so today we're starting with let's get free of puckers on our quilt sandwich.
Awesome!
Yes, so the first topic we have to talk about quilt sandwich is the fabric you're going to use. This is a misbelief that many beginners have, that they should start with practice piece and some
disposable, kind of disposable material.
So not good quality fabric, so whatever, you know, maybe something your dog was using is already full of fur and holes and everything weird that your dog play with. So no, because that will put your brain in this this is not important state, and we don't want that.
No.
Especially if you're beginning something, you want your brain to be super excited about that, and you want your brain to be in that state because then it will learn faster and you have better results faster also.
Please pay attention that we are not talking about prices. We are not talking cheap or, I don't know, a very fancy fabric. We are talking about prettiness. If you choose the ugly fabric that is probably low quality fabric for your quilt sandwich, you will put your brain in the state that Natasha already said. So pick a beautiful fabric, a fabric that you really love, a fabric that excites you, that just to look at that fabric, you get excited. You can pet that fabric like for hours. We know, we all do that sometimes. I know, I don't know.
Yeah, so this is about quality, both for top and backing, but we have some features we need to talk about the top fabric, for example. So the top fabric, because you want to see what you're doing when you're quilting, we want you to choose a solid fabric or at least a solid reed fabric that you can still see what you're doing, okay? So this is the ideal for top fabric. Now when you talk about the backing is the opposite. We want the backing to be very busy printed backing.
As busy as you can. So this is our busiest fabric. And what makes this fabric so busy is the contrast between the prints. So notice that this is not white on white or beige and soft pink fabric. No, this is like black and white, dark blue and soft light blue. So that high contrast in a fabric is the type of busy print that we want. So it's not a light print on a dark fabric but they are closer. No, it's high contrast. They are very dark and very light contrast between them. That's what's gonna hide our quilting if it's not just as awesome as we wanted for the piece.
Yeah, so you can still use that piece, your very first quilting. You can still use that quilt, but you're going to use the backing. It is a very good idea to choose a backing that you like, a print that you like.
Yeah.
Because in the case you don't love the top, and you are going to use the backing, you're still going to love that quilt that you done.
And here's the neuroscience hack with this set of fabric for your first free motion quilting sandwich. If you choose these specific characteristics, your brain will get so relaxed because no matter what, you will have a beautiful result at the end because you love the backing fabric so much, and it will not show your quilting in any way, but the top is very visible so you can see everything and you can get excited with the parts and beats that are awesome and you nailed. So this is set up for success with your quilting sandwich even before you attached anything.
And of course that if you're talking about quilt sandwich, there's no point of having just the bread. We need the filling, we need the batting, because that is the juicy part, right?
Yeah, that's the flavor of the sandwich.
Exactly. So the flavor or the batting you should choose as your first quilting ever as a beginner is a low loft natural batting.
So here we have 100% cotton. It's low loft, which means it's kind of thin. So it's not that super fluffy, very voluptuous type of batting, which is ideal for you as a beginner because you have less loft to handle. So you have to handle a sandwich that is already helping you with the materials and the loft that you chose.
Exactly. So to sum up, we are going to use good quality materials. We are going to use a solid or solid reed top. We're going to use a busy printed fabric for the backing, and we're going to use a low loft natural batting.
That will set you for absolutely free motion quilting success.
So if you want to grab the PDF quick guides, go to the link in the description because you have them for you in this free motion quilting crash course, on which you can see all the classes in a row and the PDF quick guides for the whole series. Okay, so go there and we'll see you there.
Let's start to assemble the quilt sandwich. So the quilt sandwich, of course, it is the pre-fixing of the 3 layers, so you can stitch your free motion quilting and hold those 3 layers together for good and not just temporarily. That's what means the quilt sandwich. It's temporarily fixing. So when they are completely attached permanently with thread, then it's just a quilt and the sandwich is eating. The first sandwich that you're gonna quilt has to be a small quilt. So it doesn't matter if it's a small wall quilt, like a wall hanging, which is very pretty. It doesn't matter if it's just a single block that you're gonna use like a placemat or to make a tote bag or anything like that. But what matters is that it's a small quilt sandwich. So in our case, we are doing a pillowcase with our quilt sandwich, and that is the perfect size for a first quilt sandwich, because first you have to learn how to walk so you can run. So it's not a good idea to start with a big quilt already, because then on top of learning how to move, on top of learning how to maneuver the movement and the machine, how to get consistent stitches, you also have to, on top of all of that, learn at the same time how to handle a much bigger amount of waste material and quilt sandwich. So let's start walking so then you can run free in the fields of free motion quilting with confidence and having fun. So start with a small quilt sandwich.
We have our top that we already showed you. This is a small top, it's 15 inches per 15, okay? And we're going to start with this one. And now we're going to start assembling the quilt sandwich. So the first part that you need to do is of course, all of your fabric is already ironed, you already pressed everything, and we're going to put the printing facing the table, for example, so it can be on the visible side of your finished quilt, okay? And then we're going to grab the batting. And
remember, our backing is already pressed and really smooth, so there's no wrinkles or puckers when we get to the sandwich part.
And I'll put the batting right here. And one very important thing for you to notice is that when we centralize the top here, you can see that we have a good amount of extra batting and backing here, and that is what we call the toilet paper margin.
It's so catchy. Ask me why. Ask me why, please.
Why, Aline? Why?
No, ask why do you need the toilet paper margin?
Aline, why do you need a toilet paper margin to do your quilt sandwich?
Oh, that's so I don't get shitty results.
And that is so true, because if you don't have this place, because this is where I can put my hands and it fits my hands, so I can move my quilt easily using that area. If I don't have this, and let's say I just have this teeny tiny, this is so common.
Let's put it like this so people don't get confused.
If
this is very common. People say, oh, 1 or 2 inches, or sometimes maybe half an inch.
Yeah. So, you know, you're like an ant trying to quilt.
If you want to quilt this area right here, this hand has no place to rest and move the sandwich.
Yeah, so actually this is what would happen, right?
Yeah.
But this hand is useless.
Like 50% of the artistry, work and resources that you have are wasted because you don't have the toilet paper margin.
Yeah.
So it's almost 4 inches. It's
4 inches.
It's your hand. So remember the toilet paper. It's the exact size of an average. The exact size of an average hand. Yeah. So you don't get to the results. And this is the same thing. So it's one hand, roughly 4 inches. To each side. And this is also amazing because with this margin you can actually use this slice of leftover once you're finished with this sandwich. But if you just have half an inch or 1 inch, there's no point on sewing them down like Frankensteining that batting to use them. So this is not waste. This can be repurposed, which is even more amazing.
Can be and will be.
Yes.
Because we are going to use our beautiful toilet paper margins to make some more beautiful quilts. Awesome. And now the quilt sandwich has its one part of the equation free of puckers when we're quilting. So the way you're going to do your quilt sandwich is half the way through having a quilt without puckers.
Yeah.
So what you need to do to avoid that is you're not going to stretch none of your fabric. Sometimes people stretch that and they place some tapes here so the backing is really stretched, and then they do their temporary fixing here, and then when you tension that fabric, when you lose this, it's going to come back because it's fabric. Exactly. So it's going to come back, and that is super potential to create puckers. So we are not, and how could I stress this more than doing this? You are not going to stretch your fabric, your batting, or your top.
Please
Please.
If you don't want puckers. Just if you don't want puckers.
Yeah, but
if you're okay with puckers, that's okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm not saying I want you to have a black and white moment here.
Okay.
I'm not saying that puckers are the end of the world and that your quilt will be ruined if you have puckers. That's not the point. We are not the quilting police. I mean, look at us. We will be arrested. But what we are saying here is how to avoid them, because we know it's very frustrating if you put a lot of effort and you did everything that the internet says you have to do. So you stretched your fabric really good. It looks very smooth with all that tape around, and then you pat your bedding and your fabric a lot of times, which actually stretches your fabric too. So you did all of that and you end up with lots of puckers. That is very frustrating, and that's why we are talking about how to avoid puckers in the first place. So if you're starting with us in this free motion quilting crash course by Orbital Quilting, you are starting correctly, very well oriented, and in a small quilt sandwich. So you don't have to deal with a lot of fabric. You don't have any reason to stretch anything, because once they are pressed separately on your regular iron board, they lay flat automatically. So you don't have to deal with anything more than the actual essential material and features and techniques in order for you to learn free motion quilting.
Yes. And another thing that is really crucial for you to start with small quilts is that let's think about ergonomics, because you are going to assemble your sandwich.
Let's talk about ergonomics.
Yeah. You're going to assemble your sandwich on a table. You're not going to put it on the floor and crawl over the floor and hurt your knees and back and neck and everything. No. We want healthy quilters, please. So you're not going to crawl over the floor. You're going to put this on a table. For a small sandwich, this is so easy to do. And then once you have this, we start to actually temporarily
attach
the layers.
So we are using regular safety pins because we can find them in a very small size, which is very good. So we have less things in our way when we are quilting. And as you can see, because everything, all the layers of my sandwich are laid on top of each other, relaxed, I can easily maneuver this quilt. I can easily attach the pins with so less effort and less fuss than a big quilt. I mean, it barely moves when I'm attaching the pins. So it's very, very easy and it's very, very fun. I like them smaller, but you can use any kind of safety pin you want, even the quilting safety pins that are special for free motion quilting. So let's get a closer view. So here we have the corner. All I have to do is place the pin. Because we already selected a low bedding, loft bedding, it even enters and leaves very, very easily. And notice how this pin is small. Of course, this is my preference because it doesn't get in the middle of my quilting. So we have one more here.
And the way you're going to place your pin is that you have actually space for your pin to move here. So you're not putting a lot of material inside your pin.
It's not stuffed pin, it's free pin.
It's free pin.
is light filling pin. We can put all the pins and then close, or put one and start closing. It's up to you. Because this is a very small sandwich as well, we don't need to put a lot of quilting.
A lot of pins.
A lot of pins. I'm gonna put one more in each color here, because we want to get things tight. But this is all. And then we get these corners. So again, right here, we're gonna place our pins.
And for this part, you can use bigger pins.
Yeah, because they are easy to maneuver.
Yeah. And they're not going to be on your quilting area, so they won't be a problem.
Yeah.
So they can be bigger.
Yeah. And as you can see, it's very, very easy to handle this kind of material.
Yeah.
Because the material it's already prepared for beginners.
You also don't want to use regular pins because they don't close and they can come out as you're quilting. They can also get into your hand, and that's not cool. I mean, we're not voodoos. I don't know about you, but I don't like it. Another thing that people always ask is, hey, can I make my sandwich using glue? Well, we don't like glue for many reasons. It's something that you use once and then it's just waste of material and so on. Rather, if you have a safety pin, you're going to use it for many years, so it's more sustainable. Not only that, glue usually makes a mess.
At least for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we are not the quilting police.
Yeah.
If glue is working for you, it's just fine. It's just not our vibes.
Yeah.
We breathe them. We don't know what materials are used to make that glue. Most times glues are made from petroleum or plastic components. The can is disposable, so it's a lot of energy, water, and resources to
waste every single time.
So there is not a way to reuse them.
It's not for us. If you're okay with glue, go ahead, but if you tried and didn't like it, or if you never try, this is your very first quilt sandwich, go with the safety pins. It's easier, it's cheaper, and is more sustainable.
So let's take a look on our quilt sandwich. Oh no, here.
Oh, okay.
So we can see, we can show this. So this is something that you can do with pins that you cannot do with glue, because glue wrinkles the fabric. It's not permanent, but it's very annoying. But with pins, we can do whatever we want and the quilt will be perfect. This type of temporary fixing, temporary attachment of your layers, they grant you confidence, because you know when they will come off is when you remove them. So there's no questioning.
Yeah, because you are the goddess of your quiltdom.
Yes.
This is why we're here doing this free motion crash course. Let us know if you knew those things, if you're with us to do your very first quilt.
And I would love to hear in the comments your favorite fabrics, the ones that you're picking out, even if it feels confusing to do your first quilting or your favorite fabric. Let us know in the comments which brand, color, or even type of print you love so much that you are dedicating your first newborn baby free motion quilting to actually make it. So we'll see each other on the flip side.